Hello DevOps friends, welcome to Full Stack Live. I'm Jochen, the Monospace Mentor. Welcome to my live coding stream. Today I'm going to focus on the topic of database infrastructure automation, because there is a lot of stuff that we need to fix and modernize in our database infrastructure here at my company. And yeah, I have made it my mission to get things improved in the these days, this week and next week probably. And I'll share what I'm doing with you here on my stream, as I always do. No contrived examples, no pet projects. This is just serious business and work that I need to do anyway. And I thought, why not have you lovely people with me while I'm doing it? And so that's exactly what we're going to do today. Let me think if there is anything that I'd like to update you on. Yes, there is at least one new feature on the stream, and that's the plan command that you can already see on screen because I've tested it earlier. I'm going to use the plan command to allow you to check what we are doing today. And that being said, I need to set up a few aliases for that as well. Let me do that right away while we are still getting settled. I hope you're having a great Thursday. For my part, I've been having a great Thursday so far. This morning I had the first call with our new marketing agency, who's going to do a new marketing strategy for us. They are going to build it up with us because at the moment we don't have any marketing strategy. And so I'm pretty excited to see what they are going to come up with, of course, together with us. They don't do that on their own. And then they're going to build us a new website based on that strategy. And from there, we're going to go on and do amazing things. I'm really excited. I'm a tech person and I have no idea how marketing works. And that's why we didn't do much marketing for the last 13 years of our business. But I thought, yeah, maybe it's not a good idea to not have a strategy and not do any marketing at all. Even though at the moment it's our customers who do the marketing for us, because they convince their own project customers to use our hosting, and they even recommend us beyond their own company to other marketing or web agencies for that matter, because most of our customers are web agencies. And so that's how we've been growing so far. But yeah, as I said, a little bit of marketing can't hurt if it's done properly and not obnoxiously. And that's why I decided last year, yep, let's get someone on board who knows these things and let them craft a marketing strategy for us. And then we'll do all the stuff that follows and is based on that foundation with them. And today was the first day of our collaboration. We have to still approve their proposal, but I'm pretty sure that we're going to do that. And yeah, and then it's off to the races. So let me see. We need an alias project. That's that. Save. Yeah, so now there's also a project command that is identical to plan, but hey, I'm a graybeard system administrator. Of course, I'm going to emulate the .plan file that were used on old Unix systems and back in the day when computers were mostly talking to each other over a local network, say at an research facility or a university. You would use the finger command to find out what your colleague is doing at the moment, and the finger command would then connect to their workstation, and the workstation would tell them what's in their .plan file in their home directory at the moment. And so I'm going to emulate that as closely as I can with the !plan command. Feel free to check that out. Let me maybe also try and put a cooldown on that just to be sure. Where are we? That's fair. Yeah, that makes sense. Settings were already okay. Alrighty. Anything else I want to update you on? Can't think of anything. Or maybe, yeah, before that marketing agency call, I did my workout. So I'm trying to do my daily workouts, ranging from at least taking a walk up to maybe going for a 5K run. And to this morning, I did a 5K speed walk, and that's going good so far. Before that, I tried to do exercise in the afternoon, but often I didn't disconnect from work early enough, and things got in the way. And then I realized that part of the reason I was so tired all the time was probably a lack of vitamin D. And so I started taking supplements. That reminds me I need to do that too. Let me get those for today. Of course, nothing beats the real thing as far as sunlight is even available these days in Ireland. And so that's why I decided, yeah, let's do this exercise, or at least taking a walk in the morning when the sun comes up, and let's get some sunlight in my face early in the day. And also let's start the day with a little bit of energy. And so far it's going great. I'm really happy with how it works. I was reluctant to do exercise in the morning because that delayed, of course, getting to work even more than the whole school run routine that we have in the morning anyway. But when I did my personal retreat end of last year, between the years, I realized, hey, I own a business. I'm in control of my own schedule. And I don't have that many meetings anyway. So why am I limiting myself to not doing something outside in the morning exactly? Yeah. So who cares if I only start work at 10 a.m. or even 11 a.m. Continental time? That's not going to cause any problems, and just because it doesn't fit the traditional 9-to-5 philosophy, that's just silly. And so yeah, I'm making use of the freedom that I have, and so far it really feels great. Why do you want? Just asking. Welcome to the Stag. Good to have you back, redeeming Unix. I'm always amazed. These Zoomers being familiar with SGI graphics workstations that early, that's just impressive. You did actually redeem the Unix. This is a Unix system clip that just appeared on stream. It's a clip, actually. If you didn't recognize it, it's a clip from the original Jurassic Park. The part where this Unix system is administered by an overweight and obnoxious guy was pretty realistic, but the other part where the about 12-year-old was able to manage that thing to actually do something with the park infrastructure, not so much. Oh, you haven't seen Jurassic Park? It's a milestone in computer animation. It was, yeah, amazing for the time. Okay, so I'd say let's get this party started. Let's do some database administration, shall we? So, as you might know, if you're a little bit familiar with the stream, everything we do in our hosting infrastructure is automated using Chef. Chef is a configuration management system that allows you to basically code your infrastructure setup. It uses its own DSL, but that DSL is not only based on Ruby, it is Ruby actually, because Ruby is great for building domain-specific languages. And this infrastructure code here is the MySQL X cookbook. The MySQL X cookbook is a collection of what's called recipes, which is basically code files that set up different things. So in this case, it's pretty straightforward. We have a client recipe that sets up machines that need to talk to MySQL. We have a server recipe that sets up a MySQL server. And we have a default recipe that probably contains the code that is common to the other two. And this cookbook is pretty generic. That's why it also has a pretty generic name, namely MySQL. And since there is a MySQL cookbook already out there, I called this cookbook MySQL X. That's my easy way to create a new cookbook name if the one that I would rather take is already taken. So, thing is, this cookbook seems to not have been worked on for quite a while. Actually, we can take a look at the changelog. That should have a date. Oh yes, more than half a year now. We didn't do anything to this cookbook. And I can tell from the test suite setup here. No, in this case, the test suite setup is actually up to date. We are using the generic VM images for Ubuntu 16 and 20 here. And the thing why I was in this cookbook was actually my focus is going to be on a second cookbook. And that's the MySQL-Freestyle cookbook, which is the company-specific stuff, while the MySQL X cookbook is a generic cookbook that we'll make open source as soon as we get to it. The MySQL Freestyle cookbook has customized stuff in there that only applies to us. And in that case, this cookbook still uses the Ubuntu images, not the generic images. The Ubuntu slash Xenial for Ubuntu 16 and Focal for 20. So we'll have to actually replace that. And let's take a look at this changelog. There aren't any dates, so I would have to use Git, I guess. But why not? Let's see. That was Git LL. There should be a date. Why isn't there a date? Git log dot. 1 year and 6 months ago. So yeah, this hasn't been touched in a while. Good morning, Fragberg. How you doing? How is it going? So what I'm going to do is create a new branch and we'll update this and do a few tests. I'll call my branch MySQL Freestyle update. I can't come up with something more creative at this time. So, now that we've updated the VM images, I should at least be able to run the test suite. Let's see if that actually works. So there are test suites for the server use case and test suites for the client use case, and each of them exists for the two Ubuntu versions. Broken pixels on your laptop screen. That's not good. What did you do to that poor laptop? Is it at least an old... yeah, it should either be a very old laptop, so it's justified that it starts breaking down, just like I am. I'm also showing age. Or it should be a very new laptop. That way you'll hopefully have some warranty left. 1 year old? Is there still warranty on it? Can I get it repaired? Okay, so I actually tried to start the server test suites here, as you can see from the last error column, where it says shell command failed, and that was because the VM images were not defined correctly for my workstation here, where I'm using KVM to spin up VMs instead of VirtualBox. So let me simply try that again. Let's do TKC server, which will start both test suites, because I want to make sure that both actually still work on Ubuntu 16 and 20. And if you're wondering why Ubuntu 16, that's old, yes it is, and we do still have a bunch of databases running on Ubuntu 16, and we need to migrate them to a newer OS version, but that will of course require that our infrastructure code is working and up to date, and that's exactly why I'm going to put a lot of love into these cookbooks. Balthazar, good morning to you too. Welcome to the stack. So seriously, a 1 year old laptop shouldn't have dead pixels, and definitely not a complete row of broken pixels. That looks like an electronics problem. Single dead pixels are probably a display problem, but if a whole row breaks, that's most likely an electronics thing that can be fixed. Says the guy that has no clue about hardware at all. Okay, that at least looks a little bit better, because the infrastructure code is actually running here on these VMs. And I should actually start my Pomodoro timer, so we get frequent breaks. Breaks in which I can either actually take a break, or in which we can play a little game. Shomp, welcome to the stack. Good to have you. How's your Thursday going? performance improvements on your CI pipeline, that's great news. But just to get a feel for it, how long are your build how long are your build times usually? What are we talking about? Is it now 41 minutes instead of 42, or is it more like 3 minutes down to 2? Okay, Ubuntu 16 finished converging. That's encouraging. I was already bracing for impact there, expecting a lot of repair work, but nope. 4 down to 3, that's 25% improvement. Nice. I can see the Package Cloud cookbook in there. We don't use Package Cloud anymore. We only use it for a short time. So that's definitely a dependency that we can shed. Agreed, Balthazar, agreed. We take those 25% improvements. Just recently I reduced the bathroom time for my team by 25%, and since that's a great improvement, I immediately gave myself a raise. What am I doing? Yeah, if that's not the question. But as of today, we can actually. Yeah, you do want just asking. Why do you want just asking? Has already preempted me. Since today we have the !plan command that tells you what we are doing. Today I'm going to focus on infrastructure. Automation for our databases. They definitely need some TLC. Yesterday I tried to set up a new database node and I ran into all sorts of problems, part of stuff that wasn't documented and other stuff that seemed outdated. So I said, okay, this needs some love, and today I'm starting with that program. Unfortunately, we are dealing with a lot of technical debt, stuff that got ignored years ago and has been lingering forever, and so we need to put as much time as we can into getting these things modernized, getting dependencies updated or even thrown out if they are not maintained anymore, all that kind of stuff. And that requires some coding work. And as always, I'm sharing my coding work with you here on my stream. We are using Chef for our infrastructure automation. And Chef is actually what got me into Ruby programming. Chef itself is written in Ruby, and it does use its own DSL, its own domain-specific language, which is also not only built with Ruby, it's actual Ruby. It just doesn't look like that on a superficial glance. Yeah. Is it just me, or does this second server test suite take a little bit longer than the first one? It shouldn't, because it's the exact same code, just running on a newer operating system version. But Yes, I do like it. What I like about Chef is its imperative approach. I think the imperative approach allows me to do a lot more things, especially in terms of integrating other services, as opposed to the declarative approach that other tools like, say, Ansible or Terraform would have. And so, yes, if your question means would I still choose it today? Probably. I mean, if we built everything from scratch, maybe we would use something like NixOS and the whole all the features that Nix allows one. But on the other hand, from what I can see, Nix is still pretty much a work in progress. And I'm not sure if I would base running business-critical infrastructure on hundreds of servers on something that not only would be pretty new for myself, we did a little bit of experimentation with Nix, but nothing serious, and that was still a moving target as well. Salt, on the other hand, would be a more mature solution in my regard. I'm not sure how Salt does the whole configuration part. It has been years since I last looked into Salt and SaltStack. Can't remember. Okay, it might have taken longer, 6 minutes, no idea. I would have to scroll up to see how long the other test suite took, but 6 minutes is okay for setting up a completely new MySQL server. And now they are running. Nope, that was the wrong window. I need to enter that here. Now the two test suites here have last action converged, which means, for example, I can log in and see what they are doing. That's good. Let me take a look at the dependencies. The package cloud dependency didn't come from here. I wonder where it did come from, but what are our dependencies? Oh yeah, we are pulling in the apt cookbook here. So the apt default recipe and the apt unattended upgrades recipe, and I guess that's where the package cloud dependency comes from, because we did integrate that into our apt cookbook in the past, and obviously didn't remove it. So yeah. Salt's pretty declarative. Yeah, that was something that I wanted to avoid. Something that where I had a full-fledged programming language at my disposal was more attractive to me, and so far I don't regret the choice. Ah, yes, yeah, the foreman, exactly. There are quite a few projects named that way, which confuse the heck out of me. Okay, well, that is encouraging, so maybe it's a good idea to already make a commit for this. That's just the kitchen YAML. So let's say chore MySQL style update kitchen images. And that beep was my CO2 monitor. So let me open the window, lest I fall asleep in here. Tiberian, Hello, welcome to the stack. How nice of you to pop in. Okay, I'm almost a little bit caught by surprise here that things are working that well. So what else should I do? Ah, yes. Well, why not take a look at the issues that we filed for these suites. Give me just a second to log in. Security key. Here we go. So, for example, there's this issue here that our cookbook should use the updated MySQLX cookbook. Is that not the case? Let's take a look at our dependencies. So here we are depending on MySQLX 7.0, which is, I think, the latest major version. Oh no, it's 8.0. Okay, so of course now we need to find out what's the breaking change that caused this major version jump. Lycolate, welcome to the stack. How's it going? How's your Thursday going so far? The theme is Dracula. I love Dracula. I love its purple hues and its bright colors. So I'm using Dracula everywhere. I'm using it in my terminal. I'm using it for most of my applications where I can actually change the theme. I even have a keyboard based on the Dracula theme. If you look closely back there, the black keyboard has a Dracula colored keycap set. So yeah, it's Dracula all around. Balthazar, that's so kind of you to say that. I'm pretty happy that I don't put Chef into a bad light just because of our sometimes very outdated approach to things and our old code and stuff like that. That's completely on us. That's not Chef's fault. And yes, you're perfectly right. I'm not even sure if there are any other color themes. Are there? And why would there be? Nord is a good choice as well. Actually, one of my colleagues uses Nord in their IDE, and I did actually back the group buy of the Nord-themed keycap set, and sadly, I've been waiting for that keycap set for 2 or even 3 years now. I really need to get in touch with the vendor again, and what I've seen is that some people who did actually receive the keycap set found out that the color matching was terrible. And so the keycaps don't actually have the real Nord colors. I think they're much too bright. It's a bright gray instead of a darker gray. And so, yeah, that's why I haven't been after that keycap set that much. I didn't chase that down yet, simply because I'm probably in for a disappointment anyway. Now, changelog 8.0 does have breaking changes. There is someone in front of our house, and it's probably my son. Let me take a look. Yes, it's the son. And it sounds like my wife is actually up and opening the door. Let's see. Drop data dir support, drop all platform support except for Ubuntu. So that should be no problem. That's a breaking change, yes, because the previous support went away, but it wasn't there much anyway. So the choice to drop that stuff was quite easily made, because we said, okay, yeah, this is only half-baked at best anyway, so let's drop it and not disappoint people. And since that's the only breaking changes, I can definitely switch to version 8 and benefit from the changes we're going to make in this version. So with that, no, that wasn't what I was supposed to do. We need to update the dependency. Since we are now incorporating a breaking change, that should actually also require us to make this a breaking version change, and I'm happy doing that. So let's do that. Rake bump major. Okay, interesting. There is a version conflict. Not sure why that is. MySQL X 700 required by user-specified dependencies, and 8 is required. Yeah, that is confusing. Wait a second. What's the problem here? Let's do Berks update MySQL X. There we go. And I actually made... Oh no, I didn't make a mistake here. We are only pinning it at the minor version, which means the minor versions and even patch versions can be updated here. That's great. Okay. Dulcie, good day to you. I hope you're having a great one so far. Cup of coffee? Okay, let's go back to my timer here. Actually, having to deploy a major version with all its few complications gives me a little bit of freedom to make a few changes that I want to make anyway. It's not a carafe. Come on, it's just a big mug. Just like yourself, Balthazar. Oh, sorry. Yours is a carafe. Yeah, okay. It might be necessary. Don't know. So what I was going to do anyway, but a little bit reluctant because it's going to break a lot of stuff, is a mistake that I made in terms of designing that stuff. So that's an interesting... oh, you pour from a carafe to a mug. Are you using a Chemex by any chance? Because if you're using a Chemex, that's definitely an important part of the process. So, thing is, let's take a look at the server attributes that we are defining here. This is a whole bunch of node attributes that allow us to vary specific values. You have to have some way of influencing configuration settings of your services. They can't be hard-coded into your infrastructure code, because that would require deploying new code every time you need to change a single configuration value. And that's why Chef has the concept of node attributes, which is a big JSON document, basically, that is tied to each of your servers. Each of your servers has their own individual node attribute hash, and in there you can, of course, change values without having to change your code. Your code just needs to reference these attributes. There are ways to change these attributes either on a per node level, or we try to mostly define these attributes in what's called role files, which are shared between nodes that have a similar or identical purpose. And so each of these cookbooks, of course, defines their own set of attributes, and so does this MySQL Freestyle cookbook here. The mistake I made was basically applying what's called the strangler fig pattern to our cookbooks. The strangler fig pattern basically tries and replace parts of something else with itself. And in this case, these node attributes are just duplicates of attributes that are already defined in the MySQL X cookbook. If you go here and look into the server attributes file, you'll see that there are, again, node attributes just like here, bind address or expire logs days. Let's take a look at how this looks. Further down here, as you can see, we have the bind address node attribute, and there are a lot of other things. And the only difference is, of course, the namespacing. The MySQL X cookbook has MySQL X at the top level, and under that then there is the tunable section, which has all these tunable attributes like temp table size and stuff like that, that then goes into the MySQL configuration. And if you switch back to the MySQL Freestyle cookbook, here it is similar. It just doesn't have an additional namespace under the cookbook name. Here we decided to drop a namespace like tunable or something like that. And but other than that, they are pretty identical. And in the end, we simply take the attributes that are set for MySQL Freestyle, and then we copy the values into the MySQL X attributes. And I'll try and reason why we did that again after answering Marco's question over from YouTube. The Twitch handle is FullStackLive, all in one word. So it's twitch.tv/FullStackLive. Let me put that here. Bethesda wrote, not using at Chemex. Drip coffee brewer. Just adjustable settings for brew strength. How would a system administrator need an adjustable setting for brew strength? Cold brew. Nice. Why do I say nice? I'm interested in cold brew. I never had one. But I guess I'll wait until summer until I get one, because at the moment I'm cold as it is anyway.
It's a Unix system. I know this.
Marco, thank you for following. I really appreciate it. Welcome to the stack. So, the reason why I decided to duplicate all these attributes from the lower level cookbook into this higher level cookbook was that I wanted to have a single API and basically hide the dependency. But the price for that is enormous because node attributes in Chef are pretty complex in practice. And that's because there are several levels of precedency. How is that the right word? Because you can define node attribute values in different places and basically with different weights. And so it's oftentimes a little bit hard to predict which value will prevail in the end. And having then attributes that get copied from one namespace to the next and maybe overridden or not makes things even harder to predict. And so while this was a valid attempt at dealing with a single namespace and not with all the namespaces of dependency cookbooks also, in practice it's terribly unwieldy. So I'm not really happy with that. And so the thought I have is, since we are deploying a breaking change anyway, is that the right opportunity to get rid of this whole duplication here? Because as you can see, for example, down here we define server ID, and that is by default set to 1. Server ID is a unique ID for servers that replicate from each other. So the replication source and the replication follower need to have distinct server IDs. And here we're defining MySQL Freestyle server ID, and somehow that needs to, of course, go down to the MySQLX namespace, so it gets actually written to the MySQL configuration file, because that's being done by the MySQLX cookbook. There has to be one place where this happens, and that is here. Since we introduced additional attributes that copy stuff from MySQLX, we not only have to define the default values for these duplicate attributes, we then have to actually write them into the MySQLX namespace. And that's what this override MySQLX tunable method here does. It simply takes values from the MySQL Freestyle namespace and writes them to the MySQLX tunable namespace. And by the way, that's exactly why I like to have imperative configuration management. I can actually define methods that make my life easier instead of having to jump through all kinds of hoops to do these things. So here we do node overrides for MySQLX. For example, we override the bind address attribute in MySQLX with the bind address attribute in MySQL Freestyle, and do the same for quite a bunch of other stuff as well, and here for the whole tunable stuff. So the effort alone we have to put up with to maintain these duplicate attributes is already enormous, and it also introduces a lot of opportunities to make mistakes. For example, what if we introduce an attribute and then we forget to override the MySQLX, the corresponding MySQLX attribute? All that just to hide stuff in the underlying cookbook. I'm not really sure if that's okay. And let's take the other way around as well. What if we introduce new attributes in the underlying MySQLX cookbook? Then we have to go ahead and introduce new attributes for MySQL Freestyle as well, and override just another attribute. Oh, when will it ever end? That's really hard to do. So I think I'm going to actually drop these and force ourselves to use the MySQLX attributes directly. Because the thought is, well, if we switch to a different foundational cookbook for setting up MySQL, then its attributes will change. And by having our own local attribute namespace, we can hide that, and we don't have to update our machines. We just replace the underlying cookbook, and it's going to be transparent. I'm not sure if this is going to be true, actually, because oftentimes these underlying cookbooks also require other changes. So, yeah. To be honest, I'm rubber ducking here, just to make sure that this is actually a good idea to get rid of that stuff. But I think adding this kind of complexity doesn't yield enough benefits for us, so we'd be better off to drop it at all. Balthasar, what did you mean by now we are maintaining mappings that may not line up? I mean, if I drop these MySQL Freestyle attributes, of course we need to go through all the places where we define MySQL Freestyle attributes and instead write the values directly to the underlying cookbook namespace. That's definitely necessary, and that's why I'm taking the opportunity of this deployment here becoming a breaking change anyway. Exactly, we are also hiding stuff from ourselves, so yeah. It was well-intentioned to basically do what in application development is done by introducing a local class that hides an external API. Just to make sure that you can actually replace underlying stuff without it having ripple effects throughout the whole application. But in our case here, I'm not sure if that is actually comparable. I might have been a little bit too software engineer-y here. Let's see what else is going to happen. So we override all that stuff before we then include MySQLX server. Okay. I guess if we make sure that the MySQLX attributes get set directly, we can simply include that recipe and be done with it. That does make sense. Something that I also realized when I started thinking about this yesterday was the comparison with an application where you actually encapsulate an external dependency. That's a little bit different, to be honest, because that's only if you want to create a class that, well, now that I'm saying it out loud, I realize I'm actually wrong. I think that's exactly the purpose. MySQL Freestyle is supposed to be a wrapper around MySQLX, completely hiding its use. Maybe maybe that thought is a little bit misguided from the get-go. Yeah, that's a completely different situation. If you are making stuff, if you're opening up a broader use case, I need to actually pause my break that has started, and I need to take that break. Division by Zero, hello. Maybe you want to weigh in on the topic at hand as well. I'm actually about to throw out all these attributes that we've copied from the MySQLX namespace to the MySQL FreeStyle namespace. It was well-intentioned, but this creates more complexity and confusion, actually. Okay, that +1, that came pretty quick, so all right, good to know. Yeah, I think the value is definitely lower than the complexity here. The problem is, it might, yeah, I think where my intention with this whole namespacing breaks down is in application software or in pure Ruby. You have classes, and classes can inherit from each other, or you can do dependency injection, and that way you can actually hide stuff, and that's actually not the case with Chef here. Chef doesn't allow you to do dependency injection and basically take one cookbook and inject that into another cookbook so it can be used in there. And everything is encapsulated and isolated. That's just not how Chef works, and yeah, definitely. Crime? What? What crime? What? Did I miss something? So, these are all valid arguments for throwing that stuff out again. I'd like to linger a little bit more on that, and that's simply to really hammer things home for myself. Yeah, I think by the way, the dry aspect here is really not given, and that way we actually have to repeat everything. Okay. Yeah, this looks ridiculously overblown. We override and override and override only to then include the MySQLX recipe and have these attributes set. And then we actually go and do our own stuff. Here we include all local recipes from the actual MySQL FreeStyle cookbook, where we set up custom stuff that only applies to our platform, like our own monitoring or backup. MySQLX could take care of installing the Percona toolkit, because that often goes with MySQL, and it would be a nice service, but that's a tangent that we can go on later. And here's the net data cookbook as well. That's just an extension of the monitoring recipe, not cookbook. So these are actual custom stuff that we do to our databases that not necessarily get applied to databases by other people, and that's why they are separate from the MySQLX cookbook. That does make sense. And that's the reason why we separate that, because I want MySQLX to be a generic cookbook that we can actually open source, where there's only basic MySQL stuff and everything that is specific to us and custom to us that lives in MySQL Freestyle. But this whole meshing of the two cookbooks is, I think, going to go a step too far. It just didn't happen because I broke the export function in CI. And that broke because we migrated from GitHub to GitLab, I think. With that, the export feature didn't work anymore or something like that. Or I had to introduce new API keys or stuff like that, and I just didn't go through that effort. That's just an automation thing that's missing. And I think as long as these cookbooks build on top of each other, that's fine, and that's actually a good thing. But they need to not overlap for that to work nicely. Because I'm pretty sure, for example, and that's another practical thing, if we don't override a specific value from MySQLX, I'm pretty sure some of us then go ahead and set the MySQLX attribute directly. And now it's completely confusing, because some of these attributes get set in MySQL Freestyle only to be passed through to MySQLX, and some of the attributes get set in MySQLX directly because there is no pass-through for these specific attribute, and then it goes out of the window completely. I'm really confused by you now writing crime me for the second time. I have no idea what you're talking about. Okay, that means, yes, we'll take all that stuff. Config change handler cookbook? I didn't see you mentioning crime. That's what confused me. Maybe it scrolled by and I did just not see it. Oh, and by the way, your mention of cold brew. It's a great way to enjoy coffee while lowering acid intake. Ah, I see. Extracts less acidic compounds. I'll definitely have to try that. Oh, partner in crime. All right. Okay. Not confused anymore. Okay. Okay. Okay, let's delete those that are direct copies. I'll have to check this config change handler cookbook. That's an interesting thing. It looks like something I would introduce, but I have no idea what it does. Don't remember. So let's get this taken off and this taken off. So we don't need that method anymore. And what does the config change handler cookbook do?
It's a Unix system. I know this.
Okay. The Turd. Welcome to the stack. Thanks for following. Appreciate you. That change handler thing is that resource that delegates function when config changes. Okay. Oh, I see. Because, yeah, what you don't want to have if you run MySQL databases in production is that you make a change to your configuration. The new configuration file gets written, and then Chef does what Chef usually does when a configuration change gets deployed, and that is restart the service. If you run big enough databases, that'll give you a few minutes of downtime. And what MySQL X does here is that it simply calls or writes a file, the config change and the source of this template can be defined by the user. So by default, it'll write the template config change handler. And let's take a look at that template. There's the config and that writes a script that does an actual restart of MySQL. So that's the default behavior of MySQLX, but if you run databases at scale, that's not what you want. So in MySQL Freestyle, this script only touches a file. So this file gets created or updated, and our monitoring then picks up that this file does exist and notifies us that this database probably needs to be taken offline in a planned manner, and then MySQL needs to be restarted for changes to apply. And so that's actually a good idea to have this script around. That's in the server. Recipe where we override this node attribute, and that's actually fair. Setting these attributes in a recipe does, however, have sometimes unintended consequences, because the order in which these recipes get executed also is important. Is an override really necessary? That's also a good question. That's something that we did in the past, and then started a little bit of cargo quilting around that. And so answering that question again is definitely something we should do. And at the same time, I'd like to also rethink if we should actually set node attributes in recipes, because these recipes run at a pretty late time in the whole configuration management process, and it might actually be too late for these attributes to be set, especially if you set default attributes, because they might have been default attributes might have been set before, and if there is already a default, this second default might not apply. So the override in this case is a little bit more is prioritized, and so if we set it in this recipe, I think an override does make sense. They get set at compile time of the recipe, when the recipe gets actually executed. But if for some reason the apt unattended upgrades stuff gets executed before this recipe, then it doesn't make sense to set or it doesn't have effect if we set this attribute to a different value, because in that case it's already been run. And that's very different to the attributes file, which these attributes files here, they get executed at the start of the whole converge process. And so even then, they might be too late, but there's a much better chance of these attributes getting set the way we want them to. And that is exactly why I mentioned earlier that dealing with these node attributes is complicated as it is, and complicating them more by mapping namespaces inside our node attributes is really making things even more complex. Sharan, thank you for following, first of all. And yes, this is Newvim. Dr. First Price, welcome to the stack. Happy to have you. Thank you for following. I appreciate all your new followers. That's really nice. So, oh dear, this is really doing my brain in. Thanks, Beth. So, yep, that's the link. Oh, and that article isn't up to date anymore. The article still describes how I'm using RCM to manage my dot files, but a few months ago I switched to Chemois as my dot files management software because it's more feature rich. Hello to YouTube, PTR. I'm really not going to pronounce your whole handle, because it'll probably not only break my tongue, but also my brain. The Linux distribution I'm using is Fedora Silverblue. I'm running Fedora Silverblue here on my workstation and on my laptops because I really like how it makes system upgrades easy and non-intrusive. And since I'm doing development here, and Fedora Silverblue limits the packages you can install and stuff like that by intention, I'm using Container Toolbox as my development environment. So I'm actually working in Fedora Workstation because that's the Linux distribution my Container Toolbox is running. So it's a nested thing. I'm running Fedora Workstation in a container on Fedora Silverblue. That way I can install everything I want, and if I break something, I can actually throw away the whole toolbox container and start one from fresh. But my host operating system is Fedora Silverblue, and that's perfectly stable, and I love how easy it is to do upgrades, which only get applied when I reboot, and otherwise it's not impacting my daily work at all. So I'm really, really happy about that. For default attributes, I would propose that we create attributes files that set them, and we'll name the attributes file after the cookbook that we are going to impact here. So in this case, it's the apt cookbook. So I'm going to create a new attributes file called apt.rb. And let's add the frozen string literal here. And then I'll take this and put it here. And since we are in an attributes file, I don't need to prefix this with no dot. And that way we can do something like that. That's also interesting because we are taking the actual value of this attribute and appending stuff to it. And that actually only works if the apt cookbook itself has already been read, which because of lexical order is probably the case, but I think that's the first time I'm going to use the include attributes feature just to make sure that attributes from the apt cookbook get actually defined before we start appending stuff to them. Let me look that up because I haven't used that much yet. I can't actually remember if I ever used that. So let's see, is there include attribute or attributes? Access attributes across recipes. There's include recipe, yes, but is there also an include attribute? Yes, there's an include attribute directive. It's not documented here, but that might be because it's defined at a different place. Let me see. Is this documentation searchable? Yes, it is. Let's see. Include attribute. No matches. So are we sure there's still an include attribute? Let's go back to this. Chef loads attribute files in alphabetical order. If your recipe-specific attribute file references one of the attributes defined in default RB, then we need to use the include attribute directive in order to get Chef to load default RB before your client RB. Otherwise, all the attributes from default RB will still be nil. Yeah, exactly. Division by Zero asked, isn't a merge the default when setting default attributes in attributes files anyway, or is that for roles only? It's neither. It's only for composite attributes, which have arrays or hashes as values. Those get merged. And then again, it's a little bit complicated how they get merged. But for scalar attributes, there is no merge, of course. There's just overwriting them if they get overwritten. And I don't think the default method here does actually overwrite stuff. If there is already a default, then we don't need to set another default because the default is the default. That's how I got it anyway. In this case, we are appending stuff to an existing array, but if for some reason the apt cookbook hasn't defined this specific attribute as an array yet, then we can't even use this operator because this attribute reference here would return nil, and we can't apply this add operator to a nil value. So in order to make this really robust, we need to actually do include attribute, and that's apt. Does apt alone work? I'm actually not sure. We can't simply assign because we don't want to overwrite the whole array. It's not just the MySQL packages that we want to ignore. There might already have been a lot of other packages that are already part of this list. Let's try and simply say include attribute apt, hoping that it'll include all attributes files from the apt cookbook. I don't want to rely on lexical order, which would mean that the apt cookbook does get executed far earlier than the MySQL Freistyle cookbook, but I think that way it's perfectly robust. So that's that. And I'll still have to think about this override here. I think I'll stick with the override here. And so we'll add a MySQL x.rb. Where we'll override this value. And now this server recipe has become really easy to read, because what we do is we include the server recipe from the MySQL X cookbook, which does all the foundational stuff, and then we do all our custom stuff from recipes that are included in this specific cookbook. That does work nicely. KMFco, welcome to the stack. That's a very uncomfortable question. Will you ever consider moving to policy files? I think we already considered that and said, yeah, that's definitely something very valuable. The problem is that we are still stuck with a very old Chef version. We are still using Chef 13. Simply because we are still digging ourselves out of a heap of technical debt. And I would love to get that stuff resolved first, and then we will quite likely switch to policy files to get more of a handle on how things get executed. So the choice not to use policy files is definitely not ideological. It's nice to see someone who's actually familiar with Chef enough to actually know about policy files. It's great to have you on the channel here. All right. Okay, this definitely looks less complex. Let me go through that other stuff. So we did actually separate stuff here for backup and firewall and net. Oh, net data is actually overriding attributes from the net data FreeStyle cookbook. So we should rename that file to meet this new convention. And I think this is all very spontaneous now, but I wonder, Marcus, what do you think? Would it be a good idea to have all attributes from a specific cookbook in the defaults.rb or default.rb, which defines the defaults for this cookbook, and we only add additional attributes files if we change attributes from dependencies, for dependencies. Would that make things a little bit more readable? It would definitely lengthen the default attributes file, but I don't think that paging through a single file is more effort than having to look at a lot of separate files. And it would allow searching through a specific file much easier. That's also an interesting idea, to have another file for internal stuff, which is basically private stuff and not part of the public interface. There are some attributes that only are used for pragmatic purposes and not actually intended to be used from the outside. So we could actually introduce something like we do with our recipes here, where we have an underscore something. Yeah, something like that, or actually an underscore internal.rb or private.rb. KMFCO agrees, so I guess it's settled. We will take the backup stuff and move that to the default.rb, which doesn't even exist anymore. So let's prefix that with backup, which means we can delete the backup file. Same goes for firewall. apt is external, MySQLX external, NetData FreeStyle is external. That's a Percona toolkit that can go as well. Having attributes file for two attributes seems wasteful anyway. So let's put that down here. Process list. And then there's the server stuff, and that all goes away because there are stuff that we don't use in this cookbook anyway. And same goes for that. Replication setup is also interesting because we MySQLX doesn't even yet support replication. We have to do that manually at the moment using these cookbooks. So that can go away as well, which means the whole server.rb goes away too. Let's do that. Yeah, I think that's a lot more readable. And it also displays what this cookbook actually does. It does the stuff on top of MySQLX that pertains to firewall, backup, Percona tools, and process list snapshots. And that's all this cookbook does, actually. But how about monitoring? Now let's see how this works. Okay. I guess we'll extract this too. Nope, that relies on being able to call the secure password method, and I don't think we can do that from an attributes file. All right. Same goes for that. So backup dir, for example, should be defined in here under backup. Yes, it is. Okay, the MySQL client doesn't do anything specific other than include the common recipe here, and then we'll install the MySQL client. We don't even create an authentication file for that here. Okay, interesting. MySQLX does that already, I think. What does the common recipe do anyway? It provides the flush privileges resource. Okay. So we can use that at any time. Then we have firewall stuff. Percona installation. Process list snapshots. And as we already discussed, the server recipe is the most complex of all, but only in terms of execution. It's really, really readable what it does. Okay. What we have to do, of course, in order to deploy this is to now change the namespaces of all the values we set. So we have to do that in production, but we also have to do that in our test suites here. Let's see what we actually need to change. There is no replication master host. These things don't get defined. The server ID needs to be in the MySQLX namespace and maybe under tunable, I'm not sure. Expire logs, that's I think part of ours, but the InnoDB buffer pool size definitely needs to be under tunables in MySQLX. Let's find out how we deal with the server ID in here. That has to be defined somewhere. In here, it's a tunable. Okay, let's go ahead. Yep. It's defined twice for some reason. What's happening here? Huh? That's a case of copy-paste gone wrong, I think. How strange. Okay. And that is why you want to sort stuff alphabetically, if that's possible. And that's exactly what I'm going to do here. It's not quite easy. Yes, we did use Docker images for quite a while. That's a good suggestion, KMF. It had its limits when we started doing stuff like in this cookbook with firewall settings, where we need to run IP tables and things like that. That was when we hit limits of what Docker can actually provide us with. And so far, I'm pretty happy with the VM images we came up with. I'm now using, or we are, I think, all on the team using KVM to spin up VMs, and that goes quite quickly. In CI, we are still using VirtualBox because I haven't had the time to switch that to KVM as well. Fortunately, we use the generic VM images that work with both VirtualBox and KVM, and that works pretty well. And yes, actually, I'm using Podman myself. I've just symlinked the Docker command to the Podman command. Exegete, welcome to the stack. Good day to you. I hope you had a good start to your day. It's already afternoon for me, and since my Pomodoro timer has been stuck on the break for ages now, I'm going to actually take that break, and I'll be back in about 3 minutes. And in the meantime, I'm going to run an ad just so people don't get annoyed by pre-ads. All right, I'll see you in a few minutes. And I'm back. I still have a few more seconds of break left. Exegete Docker? What the actual frick is Docker? Let me take a look. Fancy, easy to use and reactive self-hosted Docker compose.yaml stack-oriented manager. Is it something that's a little bit similar to Portainer then? Manage your compose YAML files, interactive editor, convert Docker run commands into compose YAML, file-based structure. Yeah, it's a little bit simpler than Portainer. Portainer tries to do more stuff, but that does look decent. Yeah, I'll give that a star. Nice. Okay, now second Pomodoro phase after running over a lot. Another person in front of our door, which is probably my daughter by now. Yes, it's daughter dear. Okay. All right, so to get this done, I need to separate stuff that is conditional, like this. And I think we'll put this up here. Commonly customized settings, that doesn't really tell anyone anything. So let's just remove that. Lines that have been split will get joined again. At least for the time being, but I think we now have a 132 column limit, so that shouldn't be a problem. Here we have a deprecation warning for replica compressed protocol. So we'll put that in front as well. Deprecation, deprecated attributes. Same person who made Uptime Kuma. Oh, nice. Here's another deprecation warning. Let's move that up as well. Because after that, let's call it active attributes, because yeah, just to make it clear that this doesn't extend the deprecated attributes list. Table cache also has a deprecated comment here. Not sure what it means. I guess table cache itself is deprecated by MySQL. Oh, there's another notify.sh fan. Exegete infecting everyone. Then we have skip slave start. Then there's another conditional. Not really sure what to do about these three settings here. I guess since these are active but don't apply to MySQL 8, we'll just put them at the bottom here. There's still tunables. And the other settings, including the security options, we'll put those... No, we'll leave them at the bottom here. Okay. That's also an interesting comment. Oh dear. Okay, by now we can actually at least sort these default attributes. Yeah, node attributes for the win. If someone had already thought of that stuff that we need. That's brilliant. So let's take this. Those should also all be one-liners, right? And all be tunable. So let's give this a sort. And let me see if there are still duplicates. Doesn't look like it so far. Yes, there is. Look at that. Yep. I have no idea how these crept in, but it's time they get rooted out. some stuff. That's definitely also stuff that is only MySQL 5, I guess. Open files limit defined identically, but twice. Read buffer size twice. R&D buffer size twice. There are quite a few duplicates. Oh dear. That would have caused definite problems once we had decided to change these defaults. That would have had terrible side effects. Yeah, I should use Notify as well, for example, to run my tests here. That would easily allow me to launch a test, simply have Notify ping me once it's done, if it takes 10 minutes or 30, and yeah, do some reading in the meantime or something, knowing full well that I won't lose a lot of time because I get pinged once the test has finished. Okay, I guess there's still stuff to weed out, and I also accidentally changed cookbooks here. I switched to the MySQL X cookbook. I think I was trying to look up a... Yeah, I was trying to look up the server ID setting, and that is actually under tunable. So that's tunable here. And I guess we should sort those here too. Okay. Everything in this test suite should still work, even though we've taken stuff out. No, that's not true. MySQL Fry still No, it won't. We don't overwrite stuff anymore. So yeah, we don't set it in MySQL for ISO anymore. Instead, we set stuff in MySQL X where it belongs, and so the tests should still work. But instead of simply claiming that, I'll try and prove it by running test kitchen test server, which will exercise both test suites again. It will throw away the VMs. And here you can see how quickly this new VM spins up. That takes only 20 seconds or so, and that's not a problem. Here we go. VM has been provisioned, and now it's Chef taking over. Marco said, when I look at you working, I get imposter syndrome. You have no idea. Even though I'm pretty transparent that this is a lot of technical debt and that I have to clean up all this stuff, simply because it makes applying these cookbooks so hard. That's what I realized yesterday when I tried to set up a new database machine. Actually understanding how all that stuff works after not having it used for months or even years, that's not how things should be. And so I don't think imposter syndrome is really warranted. I might have a slight advantage in terms of experience and years of practice, but other than that, I'm pretty sure there's an expression that behind the scenes, my stuff looks just as ugly as everyone else's. But yeah, in this situation, all you can do is to say, yeah, it is what it is, and let's improve things. Don't worry about that, Marco. Even 1.5 years into something. Look, I'm doing this chef record here I've been doing that for 13 years. I introduced that quite early when I started my company because I knew I needed to automate stuff. And I still make mistakes like the attribute namespacing isolation thing that I fixed at the beginning of this, or in the run during the run of this stream. It's just different problems, and I don't feel bad about that, to be honest, and I don't mind sharing that on stream even, because what I'm actually doing here is improving, not only improving my code, but improving myself. I've learned something. I've learned, in this case, that going overboard with trying to isolate dependencies doesn't really help. It just makes using that stuff harder. And so after this stream, I'm going to be better than before. Our code is going to be better than before. And we all have made progress. And so that's nothing to be ashamed of. And Alex is right, imposter to super hacker. I guess we oscillate between that on an almost hourly basis. Okay, one test suite has been run, and let me scroll back. As you can see here, at least it's a little bit strange that this transition here is a little bit strange, but anyway, so we had 21 failures. That's not good. Something has gone wrong. But I'll let the Ubuntu 20 VM here spin up as well. It'll probably break with the same amount of errors, and then we'll take a look at what actually did break. And yeah, it takes time to get used to these things, especially if you're new to a new area, like this DevOps stuff and things like that. I would assume that you might come from a software engineering background, and are still pretty new to the whole operation side of things. And so, yeah, I feel the same when I start front-end coding and have to deal with JavaScript and JS bundling and all that stuff. That still makes my brain implode. I'm a greybeard system administrator going into all kinds of stuff, and if it comes to running our customer-facing web application, that's when I go far outside my comfort zone. But hey, it's just learning, and if there's one thing to my character, then it's if I'm not learning, if I'm bored, I do a shoddy job. So you better keep me challenged. You know what? Waiting for this thing is pretty boring. So how about a little game? So, grab the QR code here to join the game. And yeah, if you're not familiar with words on stream, it's about creating words out of the letters you're given. Each letter can only be used once. Later in the game, if we reach a higher level, there are even fake letters that can't actually be used without us knowing. And you simply post to chat. In this case, it's Twitch chat only, unfortunately. No Snuffleupagus is not the right solution at the moment, I guess. It would be really amazing if it was in our first game, but I don't think words are going to become that long. That's actually a great name, by the way. Is that from Sesame Street or another Jim Henson outlet? It's Muppets, right? Anyway, Enotic D, hello. How you doing? Welcome to the stack. Sesame Street. Yeah, okay. I guess we'll simply give it a try. Everyone join in as quickly as you can. Unfortunately, it doesn't post the URL of the current game to chat, even though it's obviously integrated into chat. But yeah, maybe I'm doing something wrong here. But the QR code should get you settled. And let's see and try this. Paths are always snatching the long words. And if you solve a word, actually, you get locked until the timeline passes the lock symbol. Now that I'm unlocked, I can try my next word. Yeah, don't give away words prematurely. And Marco, names don't work. Interestingly, did Automod kick in, Exegete? Did you resolve that yourself? Very strange. Maybe they restrict themselves to as specific vocabulary. Come on, folks. 10 points to go. Wow. And that is this goal smashed. Can't think of anything else. Ooh, that came in clutch. All right, let's go again. Here's the QR code again. I'll give everyone a few seconds to join in. But I think it does get displayed during the game as well. Does it? Didn't actually pay attention. Oh, of course, you don't have to use the QR code. Why would you? The chat alone does work. Yeah, of course. I'm stupid. If you wanted to run it on your own TV, you would have to use the QR code, but other than that, it's just chat-based. Well, if there is a district, then there's also strict. So few vowels. Ooh, that's really difficult. But we'll only have to find one or two more words. Nice. There would have been quite a few more four-letter words, but I can't come up with any. Ooh, disc could have been obvious. We'll see how far we come, and then we'll get back to fixing my tests. Ooh, lots of words. Rugmat, when did you sneak in? Welcome to the stack. Didn't expect that to work, actually. Premature formulation. How did text... Oh, there's only one T. Okay. How did Pete not do? Apparently it is, yeah. Nice job! That gets us to level 4 or even 5. Yep. So no waiting for QR codes anymore. Snowman! There's an actual W. How did I miss that? Here's me trying to snatch a word, but it doesn't work. Because swan is already taken. Okay, swans doesn't work? Okay. Yeah, if there's a snowman, there's also snow. Anon is an interesting word. I didn't know what that is until I played Final Fantasy XIV. You're really good, folks. Learning a lot here. Ooh, another 2 levels. That probably gets us into fake letter land.
It's a Unix system.
Rockmat, thank you for following. Good to have you. Okay. Looks like it's the L. I mean, REPL should be a word. Didn't expect it to be one. Not work. Because as you read already snatched it. Coper? Someone who copes. Huh. Nice. Only one word left. Great job. Level 8? Ooh, level 10. Let's do our best. You... Guess Gen X are 2 words. The O? No, it can't be the O. Is it the second T? No. It's the G, isn't it? You're getting pretty far. Level 12. Nice one, Marco. Astute should have worked. I think the U is the fake one. Yes. I wonder what the 5-letter word would have been. Tase should also work. That was nice, Balthazar. Yep, that would. Oh yeah, Tase is with a Z. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well done, folks. So Balthazar ended up being the leader as always. Exegete, also great job. Rockmat joined in late and still got third place. Nice. All right, this was fun. Now let's go to the non-fun stuff. Okay, then I wonder why Taze didn't work. No idea. But we'll see. Here we go. Let's get this closed. Yeah, another 19 failures here. So I guess it's mostly stuff in the configuration file that actually didn't get set. For example, the replicate wild ignore table. Okay. No, not okay. What? Why do we even test that? Am I in the right directory? Yes, I am. That's another thing. Introducing these duplicate attributes probably forced us to also include duplicate tests, stuff that's already covered by the MySQLX cookbook, but now needs to be tested again, which doesn't really make any sense. Server spec. Nope. That's not much stuff. Here, config spec. And we test all that stuff. Just because we introduced these attributes, so I can actually throw all of that away. Whelps, left side? I have no idea. Yeah, I guess we can throw all of that out. If it needs to be tested, it needs to be tested in MySQLX. And hopefully we do, otherwise. Yeah, all that stuff can actually... It's all out of scope for this cookbook. Yeah, since I spent my childhood watching German TV, I'm often doing the Captain America when someone does pop culture references. Which was a pop culture reference, I guess. Net data stuff, yeah, okay. Percona stuff, server stuff. Yeah, backup stuff. There's another convention we apparently didn't fully apply here, which is it makes sense to create test files that correlate to recipes. So if there is a backup.rb recipe, it makes sense to also have a backup.rb test. And realizing that this cron tab here is about backup. Not completely, but at least in part. So we'll copy that and we'll add a backupspec.rb, in which I'm going to paste this part. It's probably also very implementation dependent. That's also a shortcoming of this test, but one thing at a time. So let's go back and actually do the same to the process list thing, so we can get rid of this. We'll add a process list spec.rb. That'll make it much easier in the future if we make changes to a recipe to then also update or add tests, because now we have a corresponding file, as it's quite common in Ruby anyway, that for each foo.rb code file you have a foo_spec.rb test file. So this is a good convention. Okay, that's that process list stuff, which shortens the server recipe more and more. Describe service MySQL should be running. That's also a responsibility of the MySQL X book, but I guess it's a good idea to test that MySQL should be running. And since we made changes to the configuration file, and we did actually change the script that gets run after configuration changes, we should now have an etc MySQL restart required file, instead of having MySQL restarted, which is never a good idea in production. Marco, dieses Forum war immer Eigentum der Bundesrepublik Deutschland. Well, mein Eigentum, actually. Okay, no, it does explain why all these tests broke, because of our attributes. So let's do another verify for server, and let's see if those are successful. They are, in both cases. 11 successful tests, 0 failures. That's good. Okay, this has taken quite a bit of time, but I think we made some important improvements here. Not in terms of code or style or something, but in terms of practical applicability, if there is a word like that. I like what I did here. I guess just to be sure, we'll run the full test suite now. So let's do a rake test, which also takes care of stylistic stuff. Ah, yes, it'll break because we are missing a changelog entry for our new version 8. So let's do that. Changelog. That's definitely breaking, and that's why we have a major version change. Removed the attribute duplication of MySQLX attributes, since there's not enough benefit balancing out the added complexity. And let's start adding a date to these things as well, so we can actually see when those were made. Let's see how far we'll get now. Maybe we'll get a few stylistic issues. Yep. Default RB is missing the frozen literal string attribute. We could fix that automatically, but yeah, I'll make a few. I'll add that manually quickly. Okay, then there's a file name. Interesting. Okay. Name of the source file should use snake case, but then it wouldn't 100% fit the cookbook name, which does use a dash. On the other hand, it should use an underscore. So is that a cop that we should actually apply to our recipes? I don't think so. Naming file name. I might actually remove that from our Rubocop configuration. Interesting song. I thought we might have the words on stream music still on. Yeah, I saw that Rubocop is included in Rails 8, at least with a very limited configuration, so it's not too imposing. That's actually a good idea. It's even a better idea to include Brakeman, because that'll highly improve security for new Rails applications. What am I going to do with this? I think disabling it would be easier than trying to work around it, because I can't fix that with a comment if it's about the file name itself. And that applies more to actual Ruby files that represent a class or something, and then it makes sense to use snake case, because there are things that depend on this convention. But in this case, it doesn't really matter, so I'll actually disable naming file name. Let's take a look at what we can do. Rubocop naming file name. What options do we have? Make sure that Ruby source files always have snake case names. Yeah, okay. Yeah, and that's what I meant. If the file name is actually connected or related to a class or struct that is inside that file, it should actually reflect that in snake case, but that just doesn't apply to chef recipes. So we could allow acronyms, but that's not what we need here. But if that's all we can do, then we can go ahead and disable that completely. Reek is another great tool that helps you avoid any kind of issues, also security issues. But I have been using Brakeman for a long time, and it definitely saved me from quite a few issues that I would have otherwise deployed. Rubocop. So there's a specific Rubocop YAML. And we'll go ahead and N before M, right? Naming, file name, enabled, false. Then security IO methods instead of file read. We should use file read instead of IO read. Okay, fair enough. That's in the metadata file. And then there's style redundant constant base, remove redundant double colons. I'm not sure if that does actually work, and we have a few comments in there that say otherwise. That's in monitoring. We already disable send with mix in argument. Not sure if this works. I wish it would, but there is a reason why we prepended these colons here. If that doesn't work, we'll have to disable that cop for this line. And that should get us through Rubocop. And then there's Food Critic, which does chef-specific style checking, and Food Critic is happy as well. So we are now running our full test suite again, which is again the 2 server test suites, but also the 2 client test suites. The client recipes don't do much. As you saw, they just install the MySQL client package. So yeah, they don't do much, but they will also they won't also take a lot of time. Now there are 2 hydrate redeems already, so, and my coffee is getting cold, so thanks for that. It's still lukewarm after all these, after all this time, which is a great testament to this cup. And I'm very grateful to my wife who got me a new lid for this cup. The cup is older, but the lid was leaking, and so I didn't use it for quite a while until I got a new lid for Christmas. If you are a computer guy and your wife gives you presents around coffee, or your spouse, they are a keeper. Did you catch a cold, Exegete? Or did you scream too much? And of course, I've been ignoring my Pomodoro timer for all this time. We are now in phase 5 of 8, so I'm already in another work period. And skipped break. This doesn't work quite as I wanted to. Ooh, that's not good. See, When I kiss my wife, we always get disgusted comments from our kids. But there are times when it's actually a good idea not to kiss. So I guess the monitoring stuff has already mostly happened, judging from that net data gets installed here. Yep, we're finished. So Robocop was actually right. The double colon didn't seem to be necessary. How strange. Maybe that was something that was necessary in the past. And tests were also successful again, so yep, that's good. Where are we on time? Oh, almost on. Almost done for today. Let me think. Well, yeah, I guess this is actually a good point to wrap things up. And just noticing my bot here. Yeah, definitely, if you want to support the stream, you can do so on Ko-fi, or of course, you can simply hit the subscribe button if you like. If you think what I'm doing is something valuable and something worth your time, consider supporting my work. It'll also make it easier for me to create more content on the educational side of things. At the moment, I'm working on a talk about varnish, which I'm also going to turn into a workshop. And since these courses don't make me money yet, some support would definitely help with getting these things out. Why don't we do another round of Words and Stream while this is running? And then we'll wrap things up, find someone to raid, and then we'll go our merry way. What do you think? Let's give it a try. Need to get used to that. Didn't even see that, but yes. I mean, no, not going to try it. Not for being ashamed or something, because I don't think the people running this game are from Ireland or UK, where this is a perfectly valid word and just an upgrade of idiot. Someone save us! Well, that was a short one. And yes, that is what she said. All right. Looks like we are already tired. And which is fair enough. Test suite is still running, hopefully successfully. I think this is a good spot to actually create a merge request. I did simplify things a little bit on this front, and I'll also have to do a merge request for the MySQLX cookbook, where we at least reordered the attributes and weeded out a lot of duplicates. Rolling out this cookbook here will be a little bit of effort, because we all have to rename all the node attributes that we set at different places, which is always a little bit of an Easter egg hunt. Yeah, it's necessary in this case to simply make things easier for ourselves. So yeah, if this test suite finishes successfully, I'm going to create a merge request and see how we can roll it out. And if not, I'll probably be back with more changes, and we'll have more to do on one of my next live streams. The next one is going to be tomorrow. It's going to be my office hour, in which I'm going to try out a new tool. I've discovered a new participant engagement platform, to put it very posh. It will allow to I'm going to use that especially during courses where people can ask questions and also answer questions like polls or questionnaires and things like that. So I'm probably going to use that on stream as well, simply to see how it improves things. And yeah, we're going to do that tomorrow at 2 p.m. UTC. And that's going to be it then for this week. Now let's find out who we could raid. There aren't too many people around at the moment. At least not in my list. What a shame. But not to worry. Then we'll skip the raid and wrap things up. So folks, this was quite the productive session. Oh! UK Medal C. Let's see. Go to Twitch. Why don't I yet follow them? I do! Why didn't it get displayed to me then? How strange. Well, all right. We'll do that. We'll raid UK Medal Z. And yeah, I hope to see you tomorrow. If not, have a great rest of your week. And until we see ourselves next time, take care.